How's going on? In today's project, we're going to create a completely functional resume that you can just basically use. And down here, you have your download PDF and print out your resume. Completely working, ready to be sent off to your next job. So this is part of my Learn Web Development for Complete Beginners series. Let me just adjust the microphone here. And if you want to follow along with the complete series, check it out in the video description. There I'm going to link the entire video library. Also, the entire code is down in the video description. If you want to check out the CSS or the HTML crash courses. If not, just check out this specific project, which you're going to create in projects. So there's already a complete GitHub repository for this series. You're going to check. If you want, you can check it out. With this being said, let's jump into the project. But first, I just want to take a sip of coffee here. Short coffee break. Always take breaks. Have your liquids. And let's get started. We're going to create just a simple page using HTML and CSS only, and one JavaScript line of one line of code for JavaScript. So we're still in our beginning phases for making HTML and CSS projects only. We're moving up there to JavaScript, but we're taking it slowly, okay? So all of these projects that you see here, hamburger menu, image slider, my portfolio, all of them only use HTML and CSS and inch of JavaScript, I believe. Somewhere there is a bit of JavaScript sprinkled around. Okay. Let's get started with the project. Let's open in projects. Let's create a new folder. We're going to call it resume. Hit enter, and within here, we're going to create a new file, index.html. Hold on shift, exclamation mark. By the way, we're also going to use font awesome in this one, because these little icons, HTML and CSS icons, we're going to use font awesome for them. Okay, so we have our HTML set up. Next, let's create a style.css file, link it up in our HTML. Go up here above the title, type in link and style.css in order to link up your CSS file to your HTML. So here are the sections that we're going to go through. First of all, we're going to create a general setup. Then we're going to create a resume section. After that, we're going to have a contact section, which is right here. We're going to do now just a general setup, which means outline. Always outline what you want to create and then just fill out the gaps. Then we're going to have a skills section, a experience section, a education section, and that's basically it. And we're also going to concurrently write the HTML and style it. So let's get started with our general setup here. Let's right click, open this fellow up, open with Live Server. By the way, if you want all of the extensions that I'm using for Visual Studio Code and a complete rundown on Visual Studio Code, check out that video that's also in the series. So blank page because we don't have anything in here. So what I'm going to do right after the body, I'm going to create a div with the class of resume and have here just a H1 with a John Doe, or you can type in your own name. I could type in Norbert, but I'm going to leave it as John Doe. So we have here something now, we can style it. We're going to move to our CSS file. And within here, we're just going to grab onto the body tag, open and close curly brackets. And let's start out by adding to this a font family. Now, from this part on, you can choose whatever font family you want. I'm going to go with Lucida Sans. It's going to look different than what we have here. And I want you to play around with this. So if you basically would just delete this and change, let's say for a Seijo, this is also looking pretty good. Actually, I'll go with Seijo this time. And play around with the fonts, but don't make them too, let's say, too weird. Just stick with some kind of regular font, easy to read fonts, okay? So let's also go to the background, and we're going to have here, so not background color, but background, because we can use here a linear gradient. And this is basically going to go from one color to another color and using a specific degree, a angle. So for this, let me just show you. I'm going to use two colors. So I'm going to use hexadecimal colors. For example, a blue color, a hexadecimal 667. What I'm going to say 666, AAEEA, and then a purple color, once again, hexadecimal color of 764 BA2. Okay, let's hit save, and you're going to see something awful like this. But we're going to rotate it now, and for this, we're going to go to the start of our code here. We're going to type in 135 and dig comma for degrees. Okay, so this is going to move everything nicely from one color to another. Next, we're going to take the entire body and display it as flex in order to have everything in one line. And we're going to justify content to the center. Basically, we're going to center everything. There's a pretty simple trick you can use here. Display flex, justify content center, and align the items also to the center. Now, because we want to keep this as one page, we're going to assign the height of this page to 100 viewport heights. This is going to push this down to the center and also make everything just 100 viewport height. Now, because HTML automatically has margins and paddings added to it, I'm going to reset here the margin of the entire body to 0. And I'm also going to add a padding of, padding of 20 pixels all around. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the general settings. Next, we're going to work on our resume section, and I'm going to take another sip of coffee here, and we can now move to the resume section. So let's go back to our HTML. We already created here. You could also use, instead of the dig, let's use here a section tag. And before our name, if you take a look in our finished project, we actually have here a image icon. And wait a second. Actually, I want to wrap this everything in a div, and let me go back. So change this back to a div, because this is going to be the wrapper, the complete container of the resume. And what we have up here is just the header sections. So I'm going to create here a header, move the H1, so hold down Alt and move it upwards. This is going to move one line of code in another line of code. If you have multiple lines of code selected, you can move them all. For example, if I select all of these to-dos, hold down Alt on the keyboard, arrow up is going to move them all to the top. Oh, yeah, move them all up. Then you can also move them down the same way. Now, before H1 here, we're going to create an image tag, and I'm just going to copy my beautiful face in here. Please do not use my face. Use something else. Look at how handsome I was way back. And I don't have that much pictures of myself. So the name of the file, the name of the image is profile, and the extension is PNG. If, for example, you would use another type of file, a JPEG, then you need to type on the correct extension. And also for the alternate text, please use your alternated text. Okay, so this is looking horrible. We're going to fix this, far too large. And let's also finish the HTML part by adding underneath our name a paragraph tag, which we just type in web developer and space, and then front end enthusiast. Okay, so somewhere down here is also the text. So let's move to our CSS file, style it here. So resume, the class. So now we're selecting basically the entire container here, entire div. I was going to move these to-dos up here, and the first to-do with resume will be moved up here. Let's move back to our style section. I'm also going to close up the left part so we have more real estate here to code. So resume, open and close curly brackets. Now, what we want to do is make it smaller first of all. So I'm going to change the max width of this to only 600 pixels. Now, this is the maximum width. It could get smaller, but the maximum width of this will be only 600 pixels. I'm also going to add a padding of 30 pixels and change the background to a white background. So don't get fancy here, because you do want to print this on paper. Though I'm not done here, I want to take care of the image, because the rest of the styling you just won't see if I mess around here. So I would suggest that you do nesting here. So we're going to nest the image tag here, and we're going to change the width of the image to 120 pixels. This is going to make it much smaller. Okay, visiting card. And now, in order to make it round, with the round borders, we're going to add a border radius, and we're going to go with 50%. We're going to make it round. And let's get fancy and add a border, so all around border to this, of border, 4 pixels width of the border, and we're going to make it solid. We'll also make it dashed and so far and so on. And let's add the same blue color that we already have on the complete left side, because as soon as it touches the purple side, it's going to be meshed. So there we go. We added a border, basically making the image stand out more. Now let's continue. Let's move out of here, and I'm going to continue on with styling the resume. First, I'm going to trim down the borders by adding a border radius of 10 pixels. Then let's align the text to the center. Scroll up here. Let's also add a box shadow of 0, 10 pixels, 30 pixels for the spread, and a RGBA of 0, 0, 0, and a alpha of 0.1. Okay, perfect. Now, due to the fact that everything that we style in here will be wrapped around this class of resume, you could use nesting for all of your text. So even the H1, which I'm just going to add a margin top and bottom of 10 pixels and then 0 left and right, I could style it within the resume. And actually, I'm going to do it. Now, let's increase the font size to 24 pixels and change the color to a lighter dark color. So a hash of 333 would be enough. Okay, we're done with the header section. Next up, we are going to work on our context section, so where people can get a hold of us. So let me just take a sip of coffee here, and let's go back to our HTML and start working on our contact section. So contact, let's get a section tag, add to this a class of contact, and now I'm going to do a little bit of play around with emits. So I'm going to include in this contact section a H2 with the text of contact info, plus I'm also going to include a paragraph tag that includes a strong tag, and I'm going to multiply this times 3. That hits enter, and oops, let me control Z, wrap the paragraph and the strong tag into parentheses, pages once more 3, and this is what I wanted. So 3 paragraph tags, 3 strong tags in there. In the strong tags, we're going to type in email, column, jump out of it, go to the paragraph tag, and just type in a John Doe at example or at mail.com. Of course, you're going to use your own email address here. Next, we're going to have phone between the strong tags, column, and plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, some kind of phone number. Obviously, not going to use a real phone number here. E here, and then website. Really important, add your own website if you already have one. Website. We are later going to create websites and also host them for free on GitHub pages, so far and so on. So you could have your own website then host it. www for the website, johndoe.com. Okay, so that's it for the context section HTML. Now let's go ahead and style it. And we're just going to grab on here, first of all, to the H2. Let's add a border. And this is going to influence all of the H2 that we're going to create from here on. Border to the bottom. And we're going to add 2 pixels, solid, and hash of that blue color, making our border here underlined. We're going to display this as inline block, making then it will not spread as basically an H2 spreads out of the entire width of its container, making an inline block is just going to spread as long it has its content. So it will not be any longer that the words of contact info. Now let's add a padding to the bottom, dash bottom. We're going to use here 5 pixels, the margin bottom of 15 pixels, basically pushing down this border. And let's work with the font size of 20 pixels here. So make it a bit smaller, because we already have our H1, which is the largest element in the font size hierarchy. Okay, let's also change its color to hash 333, just as we have the other colors. Perfect. Next up, we're going to also style the paragraph tags. Oops, so paragraph tags, all the paragraph tags would have the color of a much lighter dark color, so we could go with 555. You can see the difference between a title and a paragraph. I want to add just a space here, but we're kind of done with this part. Next up, we're going to create our skills section. So let's move on to the next section. Let's go back to HTML, and here we're going to work on our section, skills section. For this section, we're going to create a section tag, added the class of skills. Now, I could use emit here for the entire thing, but I'm just going to stick to 3 basics things. So include here h2 plus include a div with a class of dot of skill. Okay, so there we go. And I'm going to just copy this. Now let me finish it first of all. So one div with a class of skill, and in this div we're going to create a span tag. And now we need to include font awesome. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to copy the CDN for font awesome, basically just a link. For this, you're going to go to Google, type in font awesome and CDN. you should find it on cdn.js, click on it on the library, and just click here on copy link tag. Copy this, go up in your header where you have your style, and paste it in. So you should have now Font Awesome linked up. Also, there's a complete finished code in the comment section below. Not comment section, underneath the video tag. If you mess something up, you can just check out the finished code. Now we're going to move on from here. We're going to search for Font Awesome, and that's the website. Go to the website, and we can access here a couple of free icons. So we can search for HTML. So just click on the search bar. It's going to open the search bar. You should see here after searching for HTML, HTML5 icon. Click on it. It's going to open this little fellow. Then click here where it says HTML. So you could use for React, Vue, SVG, so far and so on. We're going to use for HTML. Just click on this, which is going to now copy in your clipboard the icon. So let's go down to skills there where we have our H2, and here we're going to paste it in the span tag after H2. First of all, type in H2 skill. Boom. Now paste in here where you have your span tags this icon. So it's basically a I tag, italic tag. We don't no longer use them, with a class of FA for Font Awesome, then dash brands, and then FA once again HTML5. And you should see now, if you hit save, your little icon here. And that's basically it. All you need to do now is after the icon tag, you're going to type in here HTML with capital letters. And then after the span tag, we're going to create a div with a class of bar plus a class of HTML. And that's it. Okay. We are going to now copy this skill 2 more times. So copy it once and paste it in 2 more times. The second skill, just change here is FA to CSS. I should see, that's not what I wanted. Let's search for it in Font Awesome. CSS, Alt. Okay, so CSS 3-Alt. And this should be the correct icon. Yep, there we go. And last but not least, down here, we're not going to use any kind of icon tag. You can use a mobile phone if you want. You know what? Let's search for mobile and just take this mobile screen, copy it, and replace the last icon tag right here. Add a space up here. We're going to change this to CSS, or second. And the third one will be just responsive design. Perfect. So we're done with this part. We can close now up Font Awesome. If you want, just browse around Font Awesome, get familiar with it. You will use it in the future. So I'm going to close it up. And there we go. We have here our free icons. Now we're pretty much done with this part. Now we need to style our skills section. Let's go to CSS, and right after paragraph tag, I'm going to grab a hold of skills, and within here I'm going to grab onto bar class, and I'm going to create that bar by creating some CSS or style it, because we already created it using a div tag. So div, the class of bar, and then change this to CSS. Whoops, almost forgot it. Here's the second bar to CSS, and change the third bar to responsive, but not with capital letter, just a lowercase letter. Okay, let's move back to HTML. So the general style for a bar will be as following. We're going to give it a height of 10 pixels. Then we're going to give it a background color, or just background, a hash, and let's go with a light gray color, so a hash of E0, E0, E0. Now in order to make those bars rounded, we're going to add border radius of 5 pixels. We're also going to add a margin of top and bottom 5 pixels and 0 left and right, and the overflow of hidden, which is basically acting on both axes, X and Y. Now I'm going to move outside the bar and take each and every class separately. So the HTML class will have a width of 90%. So width of 90%, you're going to see this is going to be less than the other bars. Then the CSS bar, CSS, we're going to add to this a width of 85%. And the last one, let's say we have the last skill in it. So basically, we just want to tell a story here. How much skill do we think we have in each and every technology? Then responsive, we will say we have only 80% skill within it. So width of 80. Okay. Now, if you want, you could also add some color to it. For example, a background color of orange red for HTML. Then a copy this and blue for the CSS. And responsive design, I'm going to add here purple, this, and oops, background color and purple. Oh, basically use the same purple color. Oops, you hexadecimal purple color as we had here. So you could do it this way if you want. I'm going to leave it up to you if you want to make this colorful, just black and white. Okay, next up, let's work on our education sections. So let's go back to our HTML and create a new section. So section tag with a class, scroll up here just a bit, education. Oh, first of all, experience, then we're going to have education. And it's going to be pretty simple because we already have everything styled. So I'm just going to create here H2 with the text of experience. After that, just create a paragraph tag with a strong tag and have here web development, web developer. Then let's just say we worked at the XYZ company from, let's say, 2020 until present. Okay, and close this parenthesis up. And let's add now, copy this down, or just add basically another paragraph tag. And what did we do there? Well, we developed responsive websites and improved UI UX for clients. So pretty simple section. Now we can move on to our very last sections, which is the education section. So I'm just going to copy the above section, paste it down here, change the class to education, change the text here to education, the H2, change here in a strong tag, the bachelor's in computer science, and at the ABC University. And we were there for 2015, let's say, till 2019. So 4-year education for you. And we are done with this section. We're going to take out this last paragraph tag. So what we're going to do now is add this little print button. So next up, I'm going to show you how you can print a HTML file to a PDF file. Okay, so let's go down here. After the section tag, we're going to create a button. I'm just going to show you, let's type on also here, download the text to it, download PDF. And I'm just going to show you how you can actually integrate here a very, very simple print process. So on click event, we're going to windows.print, because this is a built-in function into JavaScript. So all we need to do now, all we have to do is style our button. We're going to go down here and let's say the button tag, open and close curly brackets, and let's display it first of all as block. Then we're going to add a width to 100% of its container, making it as wide as the container is. Let's add a padding. I'm going to add an all-around padding of 12 pixels. I usually do top and bottom a specific, so left and right a specific number, and then top and bottom the half of that number. But in this case, I'm going to go with the normal padding. Now the background color, we're just going to use that blue color once more. Now let's change the color of the text to white. Let's take out the border, setting it border none. So you're going to see that the border is removed of the button. Let's add a border radius now. So border radius of 5 pixels. The cursor, when we go over the button, should be pointer, cursor, and pointer. Basically, you're going to see it like this. Little finger there. Let's increase the font size 18 pixels. Now I want to push the button just a tinge down, so I'm going to use here a margin from the top of 20 pixels. No, not 2, 20. Come on, 20. Okay. And last but not least, I want to add here a hover effect for the button. Basically, when I'm over the button, to just change the color just a tinge. I'm going to make it purple. So on hover, and I'm going to use here the parent element, ampersand. When I'm going to hover over this little fellow, then I want the background color to change to the purple color. Okay, so if I go over it, I'm going to change the purple color. But now I'm going to add a transition because it's too fast. Transition and all of 0.3 seconds and easing out. And then we're going to have a much smoother transition. Okay. Now, one last thing that we need to do here. So we can already print this. So if I click here on download as PDF, it's going to print it. But do you see the problem? The problem is, let me make this just a bit larger. Then you're going to have this background, this blue background that I basically just created in order for us to have something beautiful. We need to take out that background. And what we could do is, I'm going to drag you back here, is use here, I'm going to go completely outside of this. So I'm going to use here media, and I'm going to not affect now the screen, but I'm going to affect on the print. So when I'm printing something, I want the button to be displayed as none, because I don't want to see the download button when I'm displaying. Basically, you're printing exactly this page, and the button shouldn't appear. If you're giving somebody a paper resume which has a button printed on it, he cannot push it. So I'm going to add now to the body a white color, because that right there, that bluish color, is just annoying. So color background and white. And last but not least, I'm going to dot resume, change the box shadow to none. So let's try this out once more. Print, and there we go. Out here and make it much, make it larger. This is how it should look. And the button is still displaying. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh yeah, because of nesting. So I need to take this button and drag it in here into resume. And now the button is gone, as you can see here. Larger again. No more button, just our resume. So pretty cool beginner's project. And it's extremely useful. So you can use it right now. Create a resume, print it out, hand it as a paper, send it as an email, as PDF. If you enjoyed this project, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Norbert PM, and I teach web development, and I would love you to have me on my channel. And see you next time. Take care. Happy coding. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.